Hello there, folks. Welcome. Hope you can hear me. My idea for this live stream is for you, the viewer, to pop a sentence in the chat and I will syntax it right in front of you and explain what it is I'm doing. Like a free, correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar class. Merry Christmas. First, though, I'd like to know if you can hear me. If anyone of you watching this right now, if you could do me the small favor of extending your fingers or your thumb onto your keypad. Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's get to it. All right. So here's a sentence I came up with on the spur of the moment. And this sentence says the complete family tribe of wokelings is attending the Christmas of commercialism. Now, you may ask, keep in mind, I'm putting this in the frame of, right now, I'm putting this in the frame of adverb, verb, adjective, pronoun, fiction, babble. You may ask me, why did I use the word is instead of are? Well, it's because family is singular, and so therefore this word would be singular based upon that. Sounds a little odd, though, doesn't it? So the first step when you're syntaxing something, well, actually, I'll put it in the first person. The first step when I syntax something is to look at the tangibility or non-tangibility of the words. And what that simply means is, do I have a tangible contract with the word or not? Is the word fact-based or not? How do we do this? Well, fortunately or unfortunately, it's based upon work. You got to put work in to figure this stuff out. You got to go into an etymology dictionary. You got to look up the earliest nativity root meaning of the word and or word particles, going back to the earliest meaning that you can find. And whatever that is, if you have a tangible contract with that, if it's fact-based, then you would syntax it as fact-based. And in that manner, if you can do that, if you figure that out, then you can basically syntax through process of elimination, because tangible contract words are either going to be verbs, adjectives, or pronouns, and non-tangible contract words are either going to be adverbs, verbs, or pronouns. Tangible contract words will never be adverbs. Non-tangible contract words will never be adjectives. And then you get into the whole process of what modifies what. There are two modifiers: adverbs, adjectives. Verbs and pronouns can be either tangible contract or non-tangible contract. Adverbs can only be non-tangible contract. Verbs can only be tangible contract. Wait, I don't recall the last thing I just said, so I'm going to repeat that. Adverbs can only be non-tangible contract. Adjectives can only be tangible contract. So once you keep all those things in mind and you have the 5 syntax scenarios ingrained in your brain, or at least on a sheet of paper next to you, you can syntax through process of elimination very, very easily. So let's look here. So we have the. The is non-tangible contract. I don't have a tangible contract with the. The is just 3 letters on a piece of paper. It's not really something that comes through the port of my sensation in the same way that the word complete comes through my port of sensation. Complete is tangible contract. Family is tangible contract. Tribe is tangible contract. Of is non-tangible contract. Wokelings, which is a word I just made up on the spot here, that would be tangible contract. A little hint, folks. Any word that you see with the particle of negation, the gerund modifier ing in it, is probably going to be tangible contract 9.9 times out of 10. Is tangible contract. Attending, tangible contract. This, non-tangible contract. It gives the same flavor as the. Christmas, obviously tangible contract. Of, non-tangible contract. And commercialism is indeed tangible contract. All right, now that we have that info down, oh, for all you PARSE fans, you know what? I'm not just going to syntax this. I'm going to go into some bonus material here, and I'm going to point out the particles of negation in this sentence. Okay? Any vowel in front of a consonant is no contract. So of has a particle of negation in it because it starts with a vowel followed by a consonant. No contract. ing, particle of negation, no contract. The in is, particle of negation, no contract. ing, particle of negation, no contract. Same thing here. Now you may ask, what about the ly in family? Well, if you would do your due diligence and look that word up in an etymology dictionary, you would find out that ly is not credentialed by the dictionary as a word particle, as a suffix. So therefore, I don't treat it as a suffix. It's actually part of the word. So family is tangible contract. So those are the particles of negation. Let me check my chat real quick, see if there's anybody in here. Oh, there we go. What is a non-tangible contract? Well, DAVID-WYNN, for complete closure on that, you can check out my syntax playlist and my Parse playlist. Lots of free videos on there giving complete closure on that. But for here, in this venue, I will try to explain it a little bit further than I already have. Like, if I say to you, my family is coming over, you know what a family is, right? You have a tangible contract with what a family is. Do you know what tangible means? First, you have to know what tangible means. So in this sense, to use the word sense, tangibility comes from being able to experience something with your senses. I can experience a family with my senses. I can see them, I can hear them, I can smell them, you know, all those things. I don't want to get too goofy with that. But the word the, that isn't a possibility. The is just a word with three letters together that doesn't have the same tangibility or non-tangibility as family or as car or as wind or as even love. All right, some people would say, well, is love would be non-tangible because I can't see it, I can't touch it. Well, here's the thing. You feel it though, don't you? You sense it. There's something you feel. What is that sensation? Sensation that you feel for your partner or your mother and father or your children or your siblings or your best friend or your cat, your dog, whatever. We call that love. That is a sensation. Can you experience the in the same way as you experience love or a tree or a light or a cup? Pretty sure the answer is no. So that's basically the difference between tangible and non-tangible. Okay? And again, you can do your due diligence and watch any of the free videos in my syntax playlist. And I do have videos specifically with the words tangible and non-tangible in the titles that would probably be, you could just do a YouTube search and find those videos pretty easily. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so let's get into the syntax, shall we? So I'm going to do this like I would teach it to a beginner. I'm going to start at the end of the sentence, i.e. the starboard side, and I'm going to work towards the port side, the left side. So we determined that commercialism is tangible, of is non-tangible, Christmas is tangible, this is non-tangible. So as I said at the beginning, tangible contract words. I know that commercialism is not going to be an adjective, and I know it's not going to be an adverb. Why? Because it comes at the end of a sentence. If I would credential this as a modifier, that would be incorrect because there is nothing left to modify. There's just a full stop at the end here, a break in the continuance of the evidence. So therefore, this word is not going to be a 1 or a 3. It's either going to be a 2 or a 4, and that depends upon the word that comes before it, which is of. Of is non-tangible contract. So of is going to be an adverb, which is 1. Let me look at my camera real quick here. Let me see something. Okay, you can look up here and see the key, the syntax key. Give you the parts of speech. 1 is adverb, 2 is verb, 3 is adjective, 4 is pronoun, 8 is past tense, 9 is future tense, 0 is conjunction. Okay? All right, so commercialism then, because adverbs modify what? Adverbs modify either adjectives or verbs. This is not going to be an adjective, as we said, because modifiers would not come at the end. So it has to be a verb, a dangling participle verb. Why do we call it a dangling participle verb? Because what is verb? Verb is thinking. There's nothing left to think about here. I'm going to do the little hand motion there for you folks that are familiar with how I do these things. So it's just dangling at the end there. There's nothing left to think about. There's a full stop there. So a cool little thing you can put in your back pocket, if you can credential when you're going backwards a word as an adverb, you can then take it away because you're done with that part and continue on here like you're starting fresh. All right, that's just a little tactic you can use there. So now we have another tangible contract word preceded by another non-tangible contract word. So that looks to me like it's going to be the same scenario, another 1, 2. Adverb, verb, adverb, verb. Now we have tangible contract word attending, tangible contract word is, Wokelings, then non-tangible, and then tangible. So that type of thing usually signals different syntax scenarios out of the 5 syntax scenarios. So we got a bunch of tangible contract words in a row. So we're going to have attending as a pronoun, is, adjective, Wokelings, adjective, of, adverb. Adverb, adjective, pronoun scenario. Here's another little neat little tactic you can put in your pocket. Nothing in syntaxing, nothing can follow a pronoun except for a break in the continuance of the evidence or an adverb. Adverbs are not breaks in the continuance of the evidence, but they certainly function as breaks in the continuance of the evidence. So what syntax scenarios do you see here? I see a 1, 2, a 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, even a 4, 1, 2. Tribe, tangible, family, tangible, complete, tangible. So that's just another 1, 3, 4. Oops. And there you have it. That's how easy it is to syntax once you know what you're doing. So now if any of you fine folks out there have a sentence that you would like me to syntax, pop it in the chat. I will copy and paste it onto this Word document, and I will syntax it right in front of your very eyes. How many quantum grammar folks out there have ever done this before on the internet? Ever in life? How many? Tell me, I'll wait. So I'm pretty sure no one has. Anybody got a sentence that they would like me to syntax? Type it out in the chat, please, and I will definitely syntax it for you. I mean, you know, not a paragraph or anything like that. A sentence, reasonable sentence about the length of that sentence right there. I mean, I guess it could be a little bit longer than that, but I'm not going to be syntaxing huge paragraphs or anything like that. If you want me to do something like that, you got to contact me, jasonmatthewg17@gmail.com, and we would have a private consultation about that. Let's see. While we're waiting, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to the great buddy, Daryl Bennett, to Siri dot whatever, I can't read that name. Merry Christmas to Deplorable Me 83. Merry Christmas to Donnell Jackson, and Merry Christmas to Nahwal Trader. Nahwal Trader. Hey, that's cool. Cool username. Can a question be syntaxed? Anything can be syntaxed. Anything. Can a question be syntaxed? I'll syntax that. How about that? Can a question be syntaxed? You didn't capitalize the first letter, so I don't want to capitalize the first letter. All right. Can a question be syntaxed? Can is tangible contract. A is non-tangible contract. Question, tangible contract. BE is tangible contract. Syntaxed is tangible contract. So that's going to be a pronoun, adverb, adjective, adjective, pronoun in the past tense. There you go. Easy peasy. And again, the way we credential tangibility versus non-tangibility is to look the word up in an etymology dictionary, go to the earliest nativity root meaning of the word and or word particles, and if that earliest nativity root meaning gives a tangible flavor to it, then you would syntax it as tangible or non-tangible, you know, vice versa. There are lots of red flags and other continuance of the evidence that you can use to determine this as well, because sometimes it's not so cut and dried. Sometimes it can be a little difficult. Sometimes you have to use your own judgment to do stuff like that. All right. So those things, you know, the adverb, verb, adjective, pronoun you see on your screen right here is called a fictitious conveyance of grammar. All right. Now, we communicate using this type of communication every single day. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. The only time it could be construed as bad, really, is if someone's trying to hurt you or someone's trying to commit harm with it. Someone's trying to take advantage with a malicious volition. And that's when this stuff comes in really, really handy. Okay? If it's just everyday contract communication, it's not a big deal. Um, because this is the way that folks communicate. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were talking about, they talking about a world leader, the leader of a country implementing quantum grammar, like switching from Babel to quantum grammar for their country, so that they would use quantum grammar in all their contracts. And you know, eh, that's a romantic sort of way to think, I suppose. That something like that could happen. But if you really sit down and think about it, for a world leader to do that, for say, for example, the pre-simulated denture, I'm sorry, the president of the United States to all of a sudden implement quantum grammar as the main communication method of communication would be draconian to do something like that, because suddenly you're going to be forcing people to do something some people won't want to be doing. You may ask yourself, why wouldn't someone want to communicate with correctness and use quantum grammar? Well, ask yourself that. All the people watching this, why haven't you learned quantum grammar then? If you want to be correct, why haven't you learned it? See? See what I'm saying? What happened if you were forced to learn it? Wouldn't that suck? That's why only the 1% of the 1% of the 1% learn this, because only the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, I think, from 9 years of teaching this and communicating with folks and having conversations with literally hundreds of people all over the earth, only a very small percentage of those people actually possess the will power, the intestinal fortitude to learn this. Takes a very special type of person, for sure. Not very many people can do what I just did there on your screen. When I first started doing this, teaching this in February of 2018, I could count on this hand how many people that I knew that had this syntax knowledge and have fingers left over. Now I can certify that I have probably about 15-ish people that have gotten enough closure on this grammar in the last 9 years that I've been teaching it, that I can certify that they know what they're doing with this grammar. That's a very small number, 15 people. And I would definitely put them up against any individual that claims to have closure on this grammar from any other sector in the quantum grammar community, so to speak. And yes, I'm talking about you, Syntax Learning Center. I bet there's not one of you in that group that can do what I just did here. Not one of you would be able to do that, syntax that fast. And it's not me. I mean, I'm not trying to brag about myself. I'm trying to say that very few people have closure on this. A lot of people claim to have closure on it and act like they have closure on it. But when you get down to brass tacks and you start asking them questions, they get angry and they run away and they stop talking to you. Anybody that's had dealings with those folks over there know exactly what I'm talking about. Nobody has a sentence that they want me to syntax. Nobody. I find that really hard to believe. No one out there. I mean, you can just write out a goofy ass sentence if you want to that doesn't make any sense, and I'll syntax it. Nobody? All right, I'll wait a few more minutes here and then I'll shut this down. Anybody out there have a sentence they'd like me to syntax? Anybody? Any type of sentence. I don't care if it's from a newspaper headline. I don't care if it's a court document, whatever you want. Challenge me. Try and stump me. Try and catch me slipping. Let's go. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? All right, I'll put one sentence up myself since you folks out there seem to be drawing blanks. A Vietnamese citizen has been questioned for hours, friends say. A Vietnamese citizen has been questioned for hours, friends say. Why? Did you guys see that? The font changed? I think I have a ghost in my technology here. All right. Here we go. All right. So A, non-tangible contract. By the way, sentences, when you're syntaxing them, a sentence will either begin with an adverb, an adjective, or a pronoun. A sentence in the fiction would never begin with a verb with a to. Why? Because in the fiction, verbs only exist if they're modified by adverbs. Keep that in mind. So A is an adverb. Vietnamese is tangible, so that would be an adjective. Citizen is tangible, would be an adjective. Has, tangible, adjective. Being, tangible, adjective. Questioned would be pronoun, past tense. You see the ed there. For, adverb. Hours, verb. Then we have, which, technically that would be a dangling participle verb, if you prefer, because we have a break in the continuance of the evidence here. And then we have friends say. Both of those are tangible contracts, so that's going to be an adjective, and that's going to be a pronoun. There you go. Any questions? Again, if you have a sentence you want me to syntax, step on up, set it in the chat, and I will syntax it. All right, let's see. As above, so below. Okay, we'll do that one. You put it in quotations, so that means it's not on the page. All right. Question for you people in the chat. Is as tangible contract or non-tangible contract? Does anybody know? Is as tangible or non-tangible? Appreciate your guess, and I appreciate you participating in the chat, my friend. But you are incorrect. As is non-tangible. Above is non-tangible. So is non-tangible. And below is non-tangible. In this context, I would syntax it as non-tangible. So that's a pretty simple adverb-verb scenario right here. So it's the same as something like this. Adverb-verb, 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 adverb-verb. Even if you didn't have the comma there, it would still be adverb-verb, adverb-verb. Why? Well, because adverbs, although they are not, as I said earlier, breaks and continues the evidence, they certainly function as such. So that's how you syntax them. So the would be adverb-verb, adverb-verb. What if I put another the in there? Then what happens? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 non-tangible contract words in a row. Now what do we do? Well, that's easy. So 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. It would be the same thing as if you do something like this. Four, 1, 2, 1, 2. You may ask, why did I put and as a pronoun and not a conjunction? Well, you have to know what a conjunction is, okay? So let's take this stuff away. Let's take this stuff away. All right, so this is all you have on the paper. What is it? What is a conjunction? In correct sentence structure, there are two conjunctions, and and or. And is a command, or is a choice. Both of those words are non-tangible contract. When you're syntaxing fiction babble, like we are here, and serves as a bridge. It's neutral. That's why it's given a syntax value of 0, okay? So you could do something like this. I mean, this isn't going to make much sense to you. But just as an example, as and as above, so below would be 1012, because in the fiction, conjunctions are a neutral bridge between any of the parts of speech, the fiction parts of speech, the adverb, verb, adjective, or pronoun. They can serve as a bridge, and in this case, it's serving as a bridge between the adverbs or any of the 5 syntax scenarios. But it has to serve as a bridge between something on the port side and something on the starboard side, as it's doing here. Same thing like this. Like the example I gave earlier. Adverb, conjunction, adverb, verb, adverb, verb. All right? The conjunction is serving as a conjunction here. But if there's nothing in front of it, then it's not serving as a bridge between anything, so it's not operating as a conjunction anymore. And it's non-tangible contract, so therefore it would be a pronoun because it's not serving its function as a conjunction. In correct sentence structure, 1 and 1 is 1. One word, one meaning, one function, one congruency. And there you have it. All right. Nobody else has anything they want me to syntax. Thank you very much, John Roberts. I appreciate your participation, stepping up to the plate and participating in this chat, in this live stream. I appreciate everybody else who's been here. I hope everybody else has a nice holiday and whatnot. This was a fun stream. Thanks for coming on board. And like, subscribe, turn your notification bell to all so you don't miss any videos. I've been posting a lot of shorts lately because you can go 3 minutes on shorts, and I find that those get a lot of views. So I can say a lot of cool things in the shorts section. So you definitely want to check that out if you want to learn this grammar and, more importantly, actually, the psychology behind this grammar. Okay, Sarah, Sarah.